Welcome back to the Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I'm looking forward to my guest this segment, Wayne Winegarten, and he co-authored a report for PRI about energy regulation, and he's with a group there called the Pacific Institute, a free market group out of the West Coast. And Wayne, welcome to the show today. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you want to start off by talking about the Pacific Research Institute?
Oh, absolutely. You summarized it. PRI, we're a free market think tank. We address all sorts of policy issues, healthcare, energy, education, trying to develop free market solutions to lots of our pressing issues.
Yeah, very good. Talk about this report that you were involved in.
What we wanted to do, there's a lot of, this may surprise you, but there's a lot of confusion when it comes to the economics of energy regulation. And so there's a lot of issues out there. There's these environmental issues, there's these geopolitical issues, and so the economics gets convoluted. And so we wanted to take a very kind of specific look. What are the consequences for the economy when you have regulations that promote inefficient use of energy? And that was the purpose of the study.
Okay, so specifically to look at the economic consequences of energy policies that are geared towards, elaborate a little bit.
Geared towards the electricity generation sector.
Got it. Got it. So very similar to what Spain, for example, tried to do.
Yeah, well, we looked at things like the renewable portfolio standards. When you force a utility to use an energy source which may not be its most efficient, 30% has to come from renewables. In states like Ohio or Indiana, it makes no sense. You're forcing an inefficient use of energy, and that comes with economic consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit then about what your findings.
Well, what the findings are, we created kind of benchmarks where we could compare each state based on things like renewable portfolio standards or renewable fuel standards, or is there choice? Can an electricity consumer choose who they buy their power from? And so we ranked each one of the states based on their policies on those areas. And what we found is, first, in terms of the states, the most efficient states are Texas, Alaska, South Dakota. The least efficient states are California, New York, and Connecticut. And those aren't necessarily a surprise. But I thought one of the things that was very surprising, or the states that promoted efficient energy use, they had much stronger economic growth, much stronger employment growth than those states at the bottom of the list that promoted inefficient use of energy. And I thought that was a very important result and kind of confirmed the importance of promoting economic efficiency when it comes to energy regs.
Right, and so the report finds that not only does it have a bearing on costs that people are paying for energy, and maybe some other quality of life areas, but it has a direct impact on employment itself and economic growth and those type of things.
Absolutely, and it also has a very regressive impact. When you think
talk about that. Costs, so, in other words, it's hurting those in the lower income groups, is what you're saying. Elaborate on that.
Well, the energy costs are a much larger share of a lower income person's budget. I mean, it's just arithmetic. And so when you increase those costs, you're imposing a larger burden on the parts of society that can least afford it. And so when you look at the Obama administration, his new push on the EPA trying to mandate a 30% reduction in carbon dioxide, that policy is going to hurt lower income Americans across the country to a much larger extent than it will the upper income residents.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, these are all the states that are most hard hit based on the ones you pointed out are ones that are considered among the most progressive states that are ostensibly most geared towards helping lower income people. The humor of it all.
And that's the irony, right? So we have all this push about income inequality and how important it is to close that, and that is very important in terms of helping all Americans. But now the flip side of their policy is we're going to now punish those people that we say we're going to help, and that's wrong, both from a moral perspective, but also the economics, which is where we came from. You've got to be correct on the economics. You've got to be true to what the actual impacts are going to be.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it. How long did it take you to do this study?
It actually took us several months. It was a lot more complicated. We had assumed it would be very complicated, and it was even more so because the regulations differ so much. So getting quality data where it was objective evaluation across each one of the states was quite difficult. But that's why we were so excited by the results, is that we were able to kind of weed through all of that information and come up with just a simplified way of comparing all 50 states.
How many different groups were involved in this?
This was just the Pacific Research Institute only study. So it was myself and my co-author, Mark Miles, who's actually up in Boston, Massachusetts. And so the two of us basically slaved over for several months to come up with the results.
Yeah. What is your website, by the way, where people can get more information?
People can get more information about this and some of the other energy studies we're doing at pacificresearch.org. pacificresearch.org. That's pacificresearch.org. So, seeing this, obviously you guys are bright over there at PRI, but so are a lot of people in government, even though ideologically you and I might disagree with them. Are they seeing these studies, and are they getting any buyer's remorse, and are they looking at different ways to approach this based on reality? I haven't seen that, so I know they're looking at the same studies, and I know they're seeing these studies, but they're also, there's lots of ways in economics where it can be misused, and you can try to spin things in different ways. And so, you see a lot of that happening where you see, and this is really what the impetus for us to do this study, you see economists and policymakers arguing that, hey, we can promote renewable fuels and create the jobs for tomorrow. So, and that's where they're just wrong. You don't destroy wealth, you don't destroy assets and create jobs. That's just not the way economics works. So there's a lot of confusion out there. And that was kind of the purpose for what we wanted to look at is, from an economics perspective, you want to promote efficiency. And when you promote efficiency, that's when you're helping families raise their incomes, create jobs, and grow the economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the market, the market will take care of itself. There's this crazy thing called supply and demand. And as we begin to really deplenish some of these resources that are so naturally available, people are going to have to move to other resources anyway, and by then necessity is the mother of invention. And so, a lot of this just doesn't make sense. It kind of defies reason. And particularly when you look at geopolitics and how the route that we're taking in crippling our own domestic energy abilities, we're doing it at the benefit of people who are enemies, those countries in the Middle East that either are already terroristic or are underwriting terrorism. It really doesn't make sense when you think about it, Wayne.
No, and you look at natural gas, where the Russians have Western Europe over a barrel, literally, with respect to natural gas, and the U.S., we prohibit ourselves from actually supplying Europe with natural gas. So here's something where we're hurting ourselves economically and empowering those who are really not the friends of our country. It makes absolutely no sense.
Absolutely. In fact, from a national security perspective, of things that I think of that we have done, I think selling that natural gas at cost to the Ukrainians and really to the Western Europeans, just at cost. And I'm not much for government subsidy, but that would be how it would have to be done, I guess. Imagine what kind of ripple effect that would have in Russia's foreign policy.
Oh, absolutely.
We want to wake those guys up. That's the way to get their attention.
Right. But it's just particularly egregious when you think that we're harming ourselves and empowering them at the same time with the same bad policy. That's just amazing.
It's horrible. Wayne Winegarten, he is with the Pacific Research Institute. The best website for people to get more information, Wayne?
Is, again, pacificresearch.org.
Thanks so much for a great segment. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
When we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here, it feels up over there at usdailyreview.com. I am Kevin Price. You're listening to The Price of Business.
I'm gonna fight 'em all. A 7-nation army couldn't hold me back.